In this episode, we talk about prestige. The Microsoft, the Facebook, the Google, the Netflix, the Amazon. What are the trade-offs in joining these companies? And what about small companies? We'll cover all that. Atwood, welcome to No Coders Allowed.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate being here.
Thank you so much. Today, in this episode, we are going to talk about prestige. It is something that you don't talk about a lot in other industries, right? When you join if you work for manufacturing, if you work for retail, there's hardly talk about, ooh, is this a prestigious company? But for some reason, tech folks like to talk about, ooh, prestige. So we want to talk about that. But before we dive in, please tell everybody who you are.
Sure. My name is Edward Desano. I have been a social worker for about 20 years. Was in the medical field previously. Before that, I was an EMT in Seattle, so have a little bit of the medicine side and then the social side. Married, have a son, a dog, cat, and some fish here in Maple Valley. So living the dream.
Living the dream. Yes, indeed. I think what you do is so important because sometimes I think you just need someone from the outside telling you, you're okay. This is what you need to do. And people get caught up, right? When you get into a circle or spiral, you're just like, I can't win.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's exaggerated. So I think what you do is commendable.
Thank you. It is. I think you said it right on the button. Caught up. Life comes fast, and things that we don't necessarily expect or plan in our life happen, and that can create chaos. So.
100%. So today we will talk a little bit about prestige, as I mentioned. The word that's commonly associated with tech companies and prestige is the word FAANG, F-A-A-N-G. We'll go into that in a second. But first, I want to share a video with you and let me know when you can see my browser.
Got it.
Okay, so I love these animation. It's really not just the music, but can you see the animation happening? So this is 2021, and it shows the different companies and how they rose up. And this is 22 after the pandemic. And there are many of these animations. I just found this one that I really liked. And the interesting thing is that the trends are quite different pandemic and pre-pandemic and post-pandemic.
Yeah.
Am I back to my normal screen with you? Perfect.
Yep, you're back.
So a lot of what we talk about today, unfortunately, has a pre-pandemic side and post-pandemic side. Mm-hmm. That animation was a little after the height of the pandemic was over. Leading up to it was a very different story.
Yeah.
And the word FAANG stands for the word FAANG is F-A-A-N-G. It initially started as F-A-N-G. Have you ever heard of the word FAANG?
No, not in this context. No.
Yeah, okay. It's not like Dracula FAANG.
Yeah.
So 2013, Jim Cramer from CNBC, Mad Money, was talking about tech stocks. And obviously his content is about which tech stock you should put your money in and he coined the term FANG to represent Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. This was 2013. But he meant it as an investment like stocks, equity, how valuable the company is.
Sure.
And it took on a bit of momentum. And then in 2017, he upgraded it to FAANG. He slotted in Apple.
Oh, yeah.
But that term...
That was my guess.
Yeah, that term became very, very popular at that time. And companies leading up to the pandemic were hiring like crazy. And it was these prestigious tech companies. the term caught on in the tech world, and today it is almost cool to say that you work for a FAANG company. Do you have a FAANG company on your resume? And so today we want to talk a little bit about the evaluate whether it's true or false, and what are these FAANG companies about, and if the prestige is true, and if so, if not, is it worth pursuing? I should mention that there is a website, an app called blind.com that is very, very popular amongst these FAANG employees, particularly software engineers. And that's where you go and you whine and bitch about your work and stuff like that. It's a lot of them have first world problems. They'll be complaining about how they are not making enough money, or they have been offered a job by Google and Facebook. Which one should they take? Right. Let me see if I can share my screen and see if I can get to that with you. I'm going to see. So I believe the website version is Team.
So it's kind of a
anonymous
outpost for when you're away from work.
Yeah, it's anonymous. You can join and you're verified with your email address, and you go in and you anonymously, under some username, you whine about your company. Mm-hmm. But that's where you get I get a lot of gossip and about, so, people that have very strong opinions about their work. And a lot of these guys and girls are from FAANG company. So prestige is an interesting thing, and I think it has a lot to do with culture. So many years ago, when I was working in Redmond, in Redmond/Bellevue area, there is one of my favorite restaurants is Malay Satay Hut. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that area.
Mm-hmm. The area, yeah.
Yeah, Malay Satay Hut is a Malaysian restaurant. On the menu are a lot of items that are similar to Singapore cuisine. Mm-hmm. So I go there a lot, and I will go there during weekends. And one weekend when I was there with family, I noticed that it is popular amongst other Microsoft employees of a particular country. But what's really interesting is Chinese food, right? What is interesting is that these folks have their badge clipped onto their jeans on a Sunday with their family.
Yeah.
It occurred to me as strange, and then I realized it's a badge of honor, no pun intended. It is, they want to signal to people around them that I work for Microsoft. I'm with my family. I'm obviously pushing a stroller into a Malaysian restaurant. They're not going to ask you for your badge for Microsoft.
Sure.
Right? And it's very strange. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's cringy. I think it's weird. But that's what people do, because they need to tell people that I work for a prestigious company. And even with the badge alone, the color of the badge means something.
Sure.
At Microsoft, when you see a blue background and your profile pic, that means that you're a full-timer. If you see an orange background and your profile pic, you are a contractor. So obviously there is a...
You're going to hide your badge if you're lower.
Yeah, it's a status thing, right? That's actually very interesting. I'm not sure if it happens in Silicon Valley, but I won't be surprised if it does. So
well, I have to say I see it in other industries as well. In social work, working for the state of Washington, being a direct employee, you've got kind of a little bit of the same culture of that's the prestige, is being with the state and not with a nonprofit or a different company.
If it's worth it, right? I remember years and years ago when I was younger, I used to be a SAT tutor, and we worked for an agency, and the agency would land these huge, expensive, affluent clients. And then they would dispatch us to drive to their beautiful summer home in Montauk, to tutor their kids. And I was paired up with this guy a lot. And he's not in, we're both in school, but he is in pre-med. But he obviously is not on duty, but he made sure he wore his scrubs.
His scrubs, yeah.
I'm like, dude, like,
yeah,
okay, right?
yeah.
If that helps you, carry a different command of presence, it was cringy.
Yeah,
super cringy. Yeah. You must have put that stethoscope on your neck
and your pagers on your belt, and oh yeah.
Give me 500 cc of vocabulary. It's I get it. It's an ego thing. It's an ego thing. But you better make sure that you need to put in work into it, a lot of energy, and it's demanding. So I hope it's worth it for him. I guess scrubs are very comfortable, right? Anyway.
They are, but at home, fine. But if you're not coming straight, well, yeah. Regardless,
we're going
to be worn
Chinese...
in the workplace. Yeah. That's it. Or at home.
Hey, honey, we're going to the Chinese restaurant. Let me put on my scrubs. Yeah, it's crazy. So next, I want to go through a list of the FAANG companies and talk about the prestige that they are known for, whether they are famous for it or infamous for. I have friends in each of these categories, and I'm sharing what I'm hearing from them. I could be wrong, but it's a prevalent theme and recurring theme whenever I meet with someone from one of these companies. And the first on the list is Facebook, or they call themselves Meta these days. They are interesting business. 98% of their business are from ads, right? They know us and they sell us stuff. And that's 98% of them where their money is coming from. They are famous for their compensation. One of the highest paid, at least for pre-pandemic. I'm not sure about now. I'm sure it's still pretty good compared to other things, right? And one thing that's interesting and great about them is they don't put you in geographical tiers. So if you are in San Francisco, they give you this amount of cash, your base salary. If you are in Utah or you are in Seattle, they give you the same level. Other companies would bucket you into high cost of living, HCOL, medium cost of living, low cost of living, and pay you according to those levels. Right. At least for the US, Facebook give you a general level. So that was one thing that was pretty attractive for Facebook. They are also well known for their campuses. They have a huge campus. I went there a few times for interviews. Obviously, I never made it to being offered a job, but they have beautiful campuses, and they are famous for free food, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's gourmet food. Yeah, it's not like boxed lunch.
Right.
It's really, and there's someone behind on the counter. Cutting up the prime rib, and it is amazing. I can only imagine the money that goes into it. So that is insane. Next up, Apple. Obviously, we know Apple, over 50% of their revenue comes from iPhones. Yep. No surprise there. They don't pay as well, as much as I know. They don't pay as well as Facebook. Still very good, don't get me wrong. Sure. However, the prestige of Apple is damn high because of Steve Jobs and their products, and they're very secretive about their products, as we all know. Yeah,
the big display that they have, the unveilings that they have in September or once a year or whatever it is.
Yeah, and Steve Jobs popularized one more thing. He was such a showman. He's a very interesting person. I find a lot of companies trying to do the Apple thing, but they can't because they don't have a Steve Jobs. Yeah. And I know Microsoft tried, right? They want to be design first, and but some companies try and fail because you don't have a visionary person like that. Yeah. Anyway, so that's Apple. Great company to have to join, obviously. Lots of prestige, probably highest in my opinion. Amazon. We all know Amazon because you and I are from Washington State. Mm-hmm. E-commerce, fattest revenue on their books. But their next biggest one is AWS. Have you heard of AWS?
Amazon Worldwide. Is that what it is?
Another one. It's the Amazon Web Services.
Oh.
Their cloud.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that is 17% of their revenue, and it's the next biggest chunk if I'm not wrong. The AWS is the leading cloud service in the world. I believe the second is Azure, Microsoft's Azure. And how it started was they had to do e-commerce and do it reliably with the right engine behind it and server and infrastructure. So they built something to support that. So what they did was very clever. They took a piece of that and go, we're going to offer that same technology and servers and all that to the outside world for a fee. And then it became like the second largest business. So they are famous, at least pre-pandemic, for capping their salary for most people at 160K for base salary. I'm not sure if it's still true today. And then they would be very famous for telling you during the recruiter would tell you that they expect Amazon stocks to grow like 10, 11, 12% every year. So they're going to factor that into the offer they give you and say, year one, this is how much you're going to make. Year two, this is how much you're going to make according to our projections. And they've been quite good at that. But the thing that sucks about that offer is that instead of telling you the equity that you get, the stock that you get will vest 25% each year, they arrange it such that the first year, I believe, was like 5%. And the next year is like 10%. And then it slowly goes up over 4 years to 40%. So a lot of my friends who worked at Amazon, they may not have a base salary like Facebook, but they have a potential upside if they stick around. And so what they do—
longevity.
Yep. And so what they do is they supplement their income with the stocks that they get. As soon as they vest, they can offload it. And also they have an interesting sign-on bonus. I think sign-on bonuses are quite rare these days. This is when they offer you a job and say, hey, we'll give you 50K, cash. As soon as you accept it, it goes into the bank after taxes. So what a lot of companies do is they give you upfront the money. From what I understand, Amazon would space out that bonus. So your paycheck looks really handsome for about 18 months during the time where that bonus is injected into each paycheck. But there is a drop-off at 18 months. So that's also when there's a lot of attrition. People go like,
That's what I was just thinking.
It's rough, but they have their reasons for structuring it that way, and obviously they have some quite a wide catalog of products. They are also very famous amongst the tech community about working in the office. They were very strict about you working in the office, even though your function involves getting on digital, Zoom calls. They don't care. You live across the street. They don't care. They need you to be in the office. And they were quite primarily office first. The pandemic hit and they allowed some of their folks to work remotely from home. But as soon as the pandemic sort of died down, they asked their folks to come back in again. Unfortunately, some of those folks during the pandemic time and post-pandemic realized that, I can work remotely. You know what? I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to move to Texas. And that is bad because you land yourself in a situation where you, do I move back to Washington and or do I go find a new job? So that is not a pretty situation. Yeah,
that can be quite stressful.
100%, yeah. Next on the list, those are the two A's, and then there's Netflix. Netflix is an awesome company, obviously, and they are famous for offering a equity base salary split. So when they give you an offer for a job and they pay very, very, very well, as good as Facebook, they will give you an option, a choice to set how much base salary you want versus how much of Netflix public. Are they public? I think they're public. Stock you want.
I believe they are.
Yeah, how much equity you want. So one of my previous companies did that. They gave us a choice to choose how much base salary we want and how much equity. So those who feel like the company is going to IPO because it's a private company, goes equity heavy, like 75%, 60%, and then they deliberately take a lower base, hoping for a bright future.
Sure.
And those who are greedy, like me, would take a high base and a lower equity. Because my thinking is, I'm going to take the extra cash and bank it and invest it somewhere else.
Absolutely.
So that worked till a certain point, and then things wasn't as rosy because of the post-pandemic. Things just went downhill. So that could work. It could backfire for for both parties. So that is Netflix. However, Netflix is the joke about Netflix is it's like Cornell. People say about Cornell in New York, easy to get in, hard to stay in.
Yeah.
Netflix is hard to get in, harder to stay in. They very openly tell you if your performance is subpar, they will give you a generous severance package to tell you to go away.
Oh wow,
that's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Almost funny. Like you're not doing well. Here's
here you go.
Please
thanks.
go.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, that's right. So that is Netflix. Google is next. G. They are obviously famous for search. Accounts for 57% of their revenue. They, to me, pre-pandemic, they were either number one or number two. They are like the Harvard in my eyes, the Harvard or the Princeton in my eyes in the tech world. Incredibly hard to get in, incredibly hard because everybody wants to get in. I mean, they are so famous that they have a movie on it, right? What was that?
Yeah.
Intern?
Yeah, the intern.
The intern.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson, funny movie. They are obviously very famous for their compensation. They get paid very, very well. They are also famous for free food. And beyond free food, they have laundry service. They have napping pots. So in the middle of the day, you want to go take a nap after you load yourself with a lot of carbs from their free food. You can go knock yourself out for an hour on their napping pots. Unimaginable. I can't imagine. And I can't imagine doing that. If I nap, I'm going to be out for 3 hours. So,
yeah, 100%. I'm not going to be any use to anyone after I nap.
And I have a snoring problem. So I don't think anybody wants to record me snoring at work. They have massages, free massages, and all these are free, and free errand services. You can say, hey, go pick up my dry cleaning. So incredible. I'm not sure if they still have it today.
Right.
The people who work at Google, they laugh at all these services when I mention it because they say that it's designed to keep you on campus to work longer hours by feeding you free food, free dinner, free everything.
Napping.
You must have sleep there. I'm surprised they didn't just put like room and board, right? Just put,
right.
Yeah,
dorm rooms.
Yeah, hotel Google. And so that's Google. So it's true. It is true. Go talk to anyone who worked at Google and go find out if it's still true. They offer those benefits. It's crazy. The other company that is not on the FAANG, but it's should have a honorary mention is Microsoft. I used to work for Microsoft, so I can give you a first-hand account of it. And they are famous for paying less than the other FAANG companies. That's what they're famous for. They make their money mostly from server and tools, but they're famously known for having a very diverse portfolio. Gaming, cloud, now AI, and server and tools is the biggest business. 40% from my notes. They were, perhaps are known for a chill culture. Mm-hmm. There's a term called rest and vest. It means that you go there and you just do your work, clock out at 5, and just chill and just sail into sunset and be paid handsomely. Rest and vest. No longer true.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. No longer true. So those are there has been variants of FAANG since 2017 that people proposed, but Kramer never came out and said, here's the new thing.
Sure.
Some people suggest Frangmula to include Uber, the LinkedIn, and ULA Frangmula. They have proposed adding other newer tech companies, but I think the era of FAANG company, it faded very quickly in the last year or so, especially post-pandemic. Yeah. And now there's a new generation of companies that are more prestigious. Not more prestigious, they are now prestigious.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest are considered dinosaurs. And this trend is not just recent years. Prior to that FAANG in 2013, there were other prestigious company, IBM, right? It was cool to see IBM and Intel, you know. Mm-hmm. And those companies are still around, but there's always a new generation of them. There's way too many to mention because I feel like these days it's all fragmented. There's no more 5 of them. There's just a lot of them that are great and prestigious. Top among them, I can think of 2. OpenAI. OpenAI is the parent company of ChatGPT. Incredibly prestigious now. Hard to get in, pay handsomely. Very, very up and rising company, obviously, for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And Nvidia. Nvidia is obviously the chip maker. Yeah. They hit the peak now. I'm not sure how much higher they can go. I think there's still room, in my opinion, more to go because they got fueled by all the AI stuff, like from OpenAI because of the demands for processors and chips. Right. But now there is another movement that's coming up for quantum computing, and quantum computing will push the need for more powerful chips that will work alongside quantum computing. Have you heard much about quantum computing in your neck of the woods?
No, not at all.
It is. It's not for the topic of this show, but I'll talk about it briefly. It's a new way of computing, counting, calculating things. Today, our processor, they call it classic computers, measures and count and remember and crunch things serially. It's either 1 or 0. At the end of the day, every picture we see, every word on computer, every data that we store can be boiled down to 1s and 0s. And the chips are moving and crunching and counting these 1s and 0s very, very fast. And they can have 2 of them counting at the same time, right?
The matrix, right? It's the matrix.
Yeah. Instruction set, they call it. At the end of the day, the chips are doing calculations. And so they would quantify these chips as how fast they can calculate it. They can make 2 million calculations per second. Then they'll give a unit to say how powerful this chip is. Nvidia became super popular because by 2 movements, they released these GPUs, graphic processor units, primarily for gaming, initially for gaming, but then the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining sort of gave them that push. That is what I know. That's what my limited understanding and what I learned from TikTok. And the quantum computing, on the other hand, doesn't deal with 1s and 0s. They deal with the fact that a piece of data, let's call it data, can be 1 and 0 at any given time, and it could be a 70% 1, 30% 0. So when you have a bunch of these variables, you can all of a sudden do calculations at a fraction, very, very tiny fraction of a classical computer. The analogy I give other people is a classic computer like the ones that we are on now. It's like a classroom where the teacher is looking for a student named Edward. So the teacher would go to the first student and say, "Are you Edward?" "No." "Sit down." Next, are you Edward? No, sit down. So that's like a classic computer. A quantum computer doesn't do that. Quantum computer will go, listen, class, if you're named Edward, stand up. And all of a sudden, the Edward stand up. And in one shot, you can find your answer a lot faster than asking one at a time.
Right.
So that's my explanation of quantum computing. So back to the two prestigious companies, they are mostly AI fuel. They are mostly hardware, chip fuel. Mm-hmm. And the engineers themselves who are attracted to these companies may have maybe specialists. They work with chips, or they work with big data, or they may be generalists, and they just like solving problems. But so that's the new generation. I'm not sure what the next FAANG would look like in our kids' generation.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, I can't even imagine.
I know, right? It'll be a different world. So that's all the mostly good about prestigious tech companies. There is a ugly side. There is a not bad side. There's a not so positive side of this prestigious company, especially in this day and age. And one of them is the infamous abbreviation PIP. I'm not sure this is used in other industry. Performance Improvement Plan. Mm-hmm. In some companies, being put on a PIP means they are showing you the door. You can fight it. You can meet their bar. They may have already made up their mind to let you go. They're just showing you the door. Some may be earnestly trying to help you improve, but I think majority of them is just their way of telling you, this is the end of the road for us. Yeah. And it's rough, right? No one likes to be told that they suck, that they have to improve. Yeah. And the way they do it is the big companies like that are very structured in the way they measure you. And one of the measurements that's very common is ratings. They will tell you meet expectation, you meet some expectation, you exceeded expectation. Microsoft has a different system where they use percentages. So if you're 100%, you're doing your job. Right. And that in these days may not be good enough, right? If you are 140, you exceeded expectation. If you are 80, if you are 60, if you are 0, if you're 0, you're out.
Yeah.
60 likely. There is a news article that came out recently where Microsoft very outwardly, publicly said we are letting go of low performers. And those are the folks who hit 60%. 60%, let me look at definition. 60% does not meet expectation. And some 80% are being let go too. These 80% is defined as meets most expectation. Right. So out of 10 things they want you to do, you are good at 8 of them or 9 of them, but that's not good enough. And that stress is it's not good for mental health, right? Obviously.
No, not at all.
Being told you're not good enough, right? That's the terrible feeling.
Especially in your career that is your livelihood. It's what you provide for. I mean, that stress is unbelievable.
The sad reality is they will tell you it's business, it's not personal. Mm-hmm. But for the individual who is being let go, it is very personal. It's my livelihood. It's how I pay the mortgage. It's how I pay my rent. It's how I put food on the table. So it's deeply, deeply personal. Mm-hmm. And how each company handles laying off an employee says a lot about their leadership. Mm-hmm. Some are more humane and tactful about it. Some are not. Yeah. There's a very famous CEO who laid off part of his company on a Zoom call, and he was just telling them, "You guys suck." And I forgot the name of the company. Maybe I shouldn't mention it anyway.
It made the news, I believe.
It made the news.
Yeah.
Right? I believe the CEO was in Silicon Valley, and he fired people over Zoom. That was a rough way. But most companies that I know of would be very gentle about it. They would be very tactful. Sometimes they will set up career guidance, services.
Sure.
Sometimes they let you keep your laptop so you can do job searches. Some of them will put you on payroll for another 2 months.
Yeah.
Especially if you're here on in the US on a H-1B visa, you have 60 days. If not, you have to leave the country. So sometimes they put you on payroll so that you can stay a little longer to find a job. So that is very stressful. When I was at Microsoft, I talked to friends who are managers, and they told me about this thing they call a lifeboat exercise. And that's when managers gather to review their reports. And there's this infamous exercise called lifeboat exercise, where they ask themselves, if I have a lifeboat and I have 5 people on my team, I only have space for 3. Which one do I throw overboard? Despite all of them performing really well.
Right. See, I need that fish over there. Go get it. And paddle away.
Bye. Yeah, lifeboat exercise. They claim that they don't do it, but I'm quite sure they do it. And even if they don't outwardly say, we gotta throw Joe overboard, they can just say, we gotta keep Tom and Edward.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes. And so the lifeboat exercise is real. And they stack rank, obviously managers stack rank people. Mm-hmm. And they talk about flight risk. If you're really valuable to them, they may talk about what's a flight risk, what's the chance that some competitor may take you away.
Right.
And this day, as we speak, the market is not in the favor of the employer, of the worker, because there's a long line of people that will take the spot. So it's not in our favor. So the lifeboat exercise is one of the negative stressors of working for this big structured company. I get why they need to have it.
Sure.
That's one of the stressors. Now, if you are at a point in your life where you cannot deal with that, you don't want to deal with it, then that's not for you, because the pace is fast.
Yeah.
The pace is very fast. It's like working on a small fishing ship versus working on an aircraft carrier. Mm-hmm. There are rules, there are processes. You stay in the swim lane. Mm-hmm. You're not performing well. See you later. Into the ocean you go.
Yeah.
We got a new guy.
Yeah. You're now bait. Sorry.
There you go. Yeah, you're now fuel. And so there, on the flip side, there are non-FAANG companies that are lesser known, and they are great companies. They can be great companies. They can be really shitty small companies as well. But for someone who's new to their career, I would tell them don't shortchange these smaller no-name companies that may not be a technical. It could be an insurance company, it could be social work, it could be in healthcare, it could be anywhere, and you don't have to join a FAANG company to make it life.
Right.
And the compensation, yes, pound for pound could be lower. However, it's not always the case, and we'll talk about it in a second. But the negative side is that small companies typically are startups, and startups are not always public companies. So the equity they give you is paper money. It won't be worth a single cent. You cannot pay your bills with equity unless the company sells itself or the company goes public, and then you can sell your equity, your part of the shares or stock, and convert them into cash. So when the engineers are offered a package and they say, we'll give you 1 million, stock grants or whatever they give you, someone needs to, the candidate needs to consider, how much, what's the potential of this company, and what's the potential of this turning into cash for me, right? Into compensation for me.
Right.
But last time I checked with the water district, they don't take equity for to pay your bill. So that
not at all.
Yeah. And so for those who have no choice, but you are in a smaller, lesser known company, you're not screwed. You make the best out of it. And the advice I would give a younger person who is young in their career is to make sure you keep growing your scope. Instead of working one project, now you take on multiple projects that's connected together, and you grow your scope and you update it in LinkedIn, you update it in your resume.
Right.
So when a recruiter sees your progression from a junior person to a senior person, you're doing more and you're having more impact. So that will be more valuable and it will carry some weight for you. So I'm sure what we shared so far is not unique to the tech industry. Someone working in the clinic to someone working for a big brand name hospital, for example. They're opposite. And you have to decide if you want to join the rat race. If you maybe you don't see it as a rat race, maybe you're really hardworking, young in your career. If you have a young family at home, you need to spend a lot of time at home. That may not work out too well, from a stress perspective. So prestige comes at a cost.
Absolutely. I mean, you want to wear that badge of honor. It comes at a price, right? All industries have that for sure.
You want to drive that BMW, you better be ready for that bill when you bring it in for maintenance.
That's right. That's right.
So we come to the end of the episode, and I'd like to conclude with a signature segment called 3 Facts, 2 Myths, and 1 Opinion. So first is 3 facts. The 3 facts, and I'm going to show it to you here. So 3 facts. The first fact is, these are things that are hard to argue. Very, very true, in my opinion. Having a prestigious company brand name on your resume helps. I have to admit it, as much as I bashed some of these big prestigious company and make fun of them, having it on your resume helps.
Sure.
I know when I look at resumes and I see, oh, this person was at Google, it does make me pay attention to another identical resume that doesn't have Google.
Absolutely.
Love it, like it or not.
Yep,
it's the truth. It's the truth. I wish people pay more attention to other quality of work, but it is the truth. Second fact, small pre and post-pandemic has drawn a very clear line for prestige and demand. So whatever information that one person reads about the prestige and benefits and how good it is to work at a prestigious company is different pre-2020 and after 2020. And that is a fact. Things have changed.
A
lot of companies, a lot of people, dramatically, a lot of people lament about how the company they used to work for, a famous FAANG company, is no longer the same. Sad, but true. The third fact is that prestige comes and go. We talked about it. There were days of the Intel. There were days of the Google and Microsoft. There were days now of OpenAI. And there will be another one after that. So they come and go. So they're very, very subjective. Don't blindly join a company because you want to be able to put on a badge when you go to your favorite Chinese restaurant. If that is your purpose to just show off, it's not worth it.
No.
Not worth it. So those are the 3 facts that I think is hard to argue with. 2 myths, 2 things that people get, 2 things that people may misconceive about the topic, about prestigious company.
I'm interested in these 2 myths.
I think we covered it a little bit. The first one is working at a prestigious company means you'll be happier. Absolutely not true. No guarantee. You may be, especially if you define things materially. For what makes you happy. If what makes you happy is being able to tell your neighbors or your friends or your cousin back in your home country that you drive a BMW now. Sure, happiness, money buys you that. But again, we talk about how it comes with a price. You can be incredibly happy and make a lot of money working for another company. It doesn't have to be a prestigious company that's in the news every day. So that's myth number 1. Prestige doesn't buy you happiness. It's really a facade. Number 2, And I fell for this one, and I truly believed it for the longest time. Startups cannot pay you as well as high tech. That is wrong. That is wrong. There are startups out there that can pay you very handsomely, better than tech companies. In fact, that ratio may be shifting now. But obviously, if the startup is a two-person startup, two guys who met in college, they can't pay you that much.
Right.
And they can't, not because they won't. They can't because they took money from investors. The investor gave them $5 million. They can't pay you $1 million.
Right.
They have to pay you what the market rate is, and maybe a little below market rate because you have no product yet.
Right.
So, however, there are startups that have improved to a higher funding stage. So a startup that's seed, SEED level, won't have a lot of money. Maybe they're putting in their own money to keep the lights on. Right. They can't pay you anything, right?
Yeah.
The company that goes to a Series A, they start to have about 12, 15, under 20 people, and they have a product out. It's very, very young. They may be able to pay you a little below average. Mm-hmm. A company that goes up to a Series B, they start to have a product in market. They have what they call product market fit. People actually paying money for them. Mm-hmm. And they have probably a size of 100, 250 people. And they can start to pay you, they can start to match what a good tech company will pay you. And more and more and more. As you go up, they can start to match.
Right.
I joined a startup at Series C, and they paid me well beyond what Microsoft paid me. So it's possible for small companies, small as in less than 1,000, less than 2,000, small company.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. So small, right? You think small is like 5.
Yeah.
But not tiny. Tiny companies, you have to be ready to grind and have instant noodles. But that's not okay. So that's number 2, right? The 2 myths. Working in a prestigious company doesn't mean you're happy. Startups can sometimes match a good salary. Mm-hmm. So now down to the last segment, which is one opinion. And this is the one that people will find hard to swallow because it's Steve's opinion. And so I'll give you my opinion. My opinion is, sure, go for the prestigious company if you can. However, for any company, don't stay too long and don't bail out too soon.
Yeah.
Too soon, to me, is under a year. Mm-hmm. It looks bad on your resume when you say you joined Nvidia from March 2025 to June 2025. Right. It looks bad. Something went wrong. If you can change at least a year, and one trick is to put years instead of months. You can put like 2024 to 2026, and no one's going to ask you like, what's that number of months?
Right.
That's one trick. So that's building up too soon. Staying too long depends on you because you can get comfortable staying too long. Too long could be 3, 4, 5, 6 years. People like to bail out at the 4th year in most companies because most companies give you equity that vests completely in 4 years. Yeah. So when you hit 4 years, the motivation to go somewhere else because you can no longer get any more value, more upside is clear. Mm-hmm. So people bail out at the 4th year. Very, very, very common. So unless your company gives you what they call refreshes, they go, hey, you did well. We're going to give you more money and more stocks, but they will vest. So they keep luring you in. So don't stay too long because if you move from company to company, you can actually get promoted faster than if you were to stay internally at one company and try to, work the system to get promoted. So that's my opinion. People may feel different, but I think that's the prevailing wisdom that I have. I don't think that someone these days especially should feel loyal to a company.
Yeah, it's a different time. It is, I see that even in the social services field is, I think there is more loyalty in our field because our field is social service and it's not these big tech. It's a very different type of thing. But the loyalty these days is pretty distant.
From a very snarky, cynical angle, the companies, when they lay you off, won't look at you as as a family, right? I hate it when companies say we are a family,
Yeah.
and they will say, oh, it's a business.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, it's true.
Yeah.
So they have no emotional attachment to you.
Right.
They don't want you to be there for 50 years.
Yep.
So neither should you have emotional attachment to a company.
Right.
You should keep emotions out of it. If you have clocked 3-4 years at a wonderful company, you're doing well, nothing's wrong.
Right.
And a new company gives you a better situation, a better package, go.
Yeah.
That's the way it has to be.
Yeah.
So prestige or not.
Right.
Prestige or not. So Edward, we have come to the end of the episode. I want to thank you so much for joining me and having a conversation with me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. It's always fun to learn about the corporate side of things. Coming from, like I said, social work, social services, we're not in the big tech world. And so it's, though there's comparisons, um, in our jobs and in companies and et cetera. It's a very different world. And so when I see and hear, those around me and close to me and family that are in this mixing bowl in this fast-paced world, it's a very interesting world, and shows someone who their career is based on helping in mental health. That's where I see that corporate and these big tech companies, the way it is, the mental health aspect is a very serious portion of that. So I always enjoy learning more about it.
Me
Because
too.
it's going to keep my business going.
That's right. That's right. I hope to have you on another episode. And till then, thank you so much. Bye.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. I'm happy to join.
Bye-bye.
Take care.